Yep, and we're recording.
Hey everyone, welcome back for another live community classroom with Michaels. Today we have Tamara from Moogly with us ready for another exciting class. Today we'll be crocheting the Caron Geo Baby Crochet Blanket. My name is Lillian from Yarnspirations, and I'll be helping with any questions you might have during today's class. Feel free to ask questions in the chat here and we'll be sure that Tamara answers them. While we're giving you some time to join the class, feel free to let us know where you're watching from. And just a reminder that today's class is being recorded and you can find the recording at michaels.com/classes. Back to you.
All right. Thanks so much. And hi, everybody. I see you're tuning in from all over. I hope you're having a great evening. So as she was saying, and as I've been saying, we're going to be making this Geo Baby Crochet Blanket. And this is an intermediate level pattern. Now, you might say, if you start looking at it, you say, it's mostly single crochet. What makes it intermediate? It's this mosaic section up here, these really cool overlay mosaic stitches. So that's the section we're going to be concentrating on tonight. That's the difficult part. The rest of this blanket is just single crochet rows in stripes. So I'm not going to be covering too much of that today. There are a couple of good tips, though, I wanted to share when you're working patterns like this. One thing I did right away is I went ahead and labeled my yarn balls. Now this pattern is made with Caron baby cakes in 3 colors. You've got white, retro, and gray owl. So this is the, this is the C. So this would be the gray owl. But you can see, you can see the C. I went ahead and wrote right on the label there, the letter for the yarn color. Because, you know, when it's not just pink, blue, green, it can get really complicated when you're following that pattern, or you might have chosen your own colors to make this with. Always an option, right? So when you're following along with a pattern with multiple colors like that, I really like to write that letter or MC if it uses main color, or CA if it uses contrast A. However the pattern's written, having that letter on the label is a big, big help. The other thing I want to point out is once you start crocheting this blanket, the mosaics, let me go ahead and open it up here actually so we can see that a little better. The mosaics are on just one side of the blanket. On the other side, it's just simple stripes. So you want to make sure that all your mosaic sections end up on the same side of the blanket. So we're going to have a stitch marker. Go ahead and put a stitch marker right on the first row on the front, so you always know what's the right side of your blanket. Because with all those single crochet rows, it's very easy to miscount. You know, lose a row and then all of a sudden your mosaic's on the wrong side. And then the other thing I want to point out is, especially with mosaic patterns or anything more complicated, you really want to make sure to read through the notes before you get started on that pattern. This one has some really helpful notes that we'll be going over today too. So like I say, this one is made with Caron baby cakes. And right here is the retro colorway. This one's kind of all those beautiful stripes that you can see in the finished one here, but that's mixed in with the white and the gray. So the white and the gray is where all the mosaic happens. So I'm actually going to be setting this one aside for now. And then here we have the white and the gray. And my white label wants to come off a little bit. You can see it's more of actually an off-white. And this one is the gray. So those are the two we'll be using today to make the mosaic with. So I'm going to try and kind of make some room here. We're going to be working with both of these skeins at the same time. So let's go ahead. I'm going to pull my hand camera over here so that we can look at this pattern together and get started. So you should have gotten a link to this pattern along with your information for the class, but I just want to point out right here on the front page, that very first page, here are all those notes before we get to the actual written instructions. And these are really important when you're working mosaic patterns. I wanted to point out too that they recommend that you carrying the unused color along the side when you're making those stripes. So I'm going to demo how to do that here in just a moment. But over here in this column is where these clues for how to work the mosaic section, those notes and tips are going to be really important. Things to note, each skipped single crochet has a chain space worked above it for 2 rows, and those are actually chain 2s. So if you skip a single crochet, you're going to be doing a chain 2 above it. And then you're going to come back later and work down into that skipped stitch for those mosaic double crochets. So those mosaic double crochets always replace the single crochet directly behind it on the working row. So this will make a little bit more sense as we work it, but it's something I want you to keep in mind. And also, you just saw I held up the front and back of the blanket. The wrong side of the work has that 2-row striped pattern, and it's only on the front that you're going to have those mosaic stitches, because we're going to be working in front of those chains and chain spaces. So again, that might not make a whole lot of sense right now, but as we continue with the pattern, hopefully you'll see how that all comes together. So as I mentioned, this is a really simple pattern other than the mosaic sections. It's just rows of single crochet. So as you read through the instructions, you'll see it's just work 4 rows, work 6 rows in this color, 4 rows in that color, back and forth. This is just those simple single crochet row stripes. So that's just telling you how many stripes to make in each color. It's when we come all the way down here that we're going to start really making that mosaic pattern. So you can see I made a couple little notes for myself here on this pattern. I always love printing them out and highlighting and circling the things that are important to me. I wanted to point out this pattern starts with the multiple of 10 chains plus 6. So if you wanted to change this to a full-size blanket rather than a baby blanket and make yourself a throw, you absolutely could do that. I'm using that in order to make a smaller swatch today because obviously if I tried to make, a full-size baby blanket, we probably wouldn't even make it through the first row. So I'm going to be setting this up here because I definitely need to follow along with these written instructions myself. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up the swatch that I've started with these yarns. Make sure I get my yarns here so they're not getting tangled up. Now you'll see here, I went ahead and I put a stitch marker. This is a Susan Bates stitch marker. I put this right on the front of the first row. This way I always know this is the right side of my work. I've also made a couple of those stripes here using our gray and white so that I can show you how to carry that up along the side, up along the edge of your work here. So I'm going to go ahead and get my stitch marker out of that stitch. I was just using it to hold it open. But while I do that, Lillian, are there any questions I can answer right away on this pattern? I know I just kind of got right into it there because this mosaic section is just so long and so fun.
Yeah, we do have a question from Louise asking, how do you add the different colors? Can you show how that works?
Absolutely. I'm going to be doing that a little bit of here. Now, we've been making single crochets right here. You can see I've got several rows in the white. When it's time to add the next color, and I'm going to do that here at the end of this row as well. Again, these are just single crochets. I'm going to go into that last stitch of the first color, whatever color you're working with, when it's time to change. And then you take your next color, whatever it is. Actually, first we want to yarn over and pull up a loop, stop with 2 loops on the hook for our single crochet, then pull up the next color, yarn over, and pull through with that. So the first time you do that, you're going to have that first color. You can see right there is where I joined my next color. You're going to leave that first color end just hanging out right there on the side of your work, because we're going to pull that back up like I just did now in order to make those stripes. So the easiest way and the way that's recommended for this pattern to change your colors is to go ahead and start your single crochet for the last stitch of the row, stop with 2 loops on the hook, drop that color, and then bring up the next color that you want to work with. And then you can go ahead and start single crocheting with that. You would just chain 1 and work back across. So that is also not just how we change those colors, but how we float that other color along the side. So let me pull that back out so we can talk a little bit about that specifically. When I yarn over with that color, it's hanging out here on the side, ready for me to pull it up to make my next stripe in this one. I'm going to yarn over and pull that through, but I want to sort of pull back and forth on that loop a little bit, because as it lays along the side here of our blanket, it'll get covered up by the border at the very end, but we don't want that loop right there along the side to be really tight, because if it's really tight, you can see it'll bunch up the side of our blanket and it just won't lay nice and flat there. And if it's too loose, let me loosen that up here with my fingers. If it's too loose, then we'll have a really hard time when we come back with the border covering that up. It's going to be loose and floppy, and it's going to try and stick out of our border stitches a little bit. So for me, what I like to do is literally just kind of wiggle that hook back and forth a little bit so that it just feels like it's just kind of laying right there along the side. It's kind of hard to describe, but you can see it's not loose, it's not tight, it's just laying nicely right along the side. If you are not putting a border on your project, then this is probably not how you would want to change colors for your project. You'd probably want to go ahead and cut that end and then just join with a slip stitch in your new color and work from there. And then you'd have to weave in those ends. This technique of carrying it along the side only works with certain stitch patterns and certain stripes. So that's something you'll always need to take into account. So right now I have worked through the 36th row. That's why there's a little 36 there, if you might have noticed. That was a note to myself. So what I wanted to show is that we're supposed to work 2 more rows actually, according to our actual pattern, in this gray color before we switch to the white. So when you're doing that, so that means that that little float along the side is going to be that much longer. So what you're going to do is when you make this next stitch, I'm not ready to actually switch colors yet, but what I want you to do is sort of lay that unused color. Let me see if I can get that to show a little better. Lay that unused color over the yarn you are crocheting with before you finish that last stitch. Let me pull that there. So what that's going to do is it's going to trap that yarn right along the side there. So as I go back and make a couple more rows and come back again and I'm ready to actually switch to this color, it'll be tacked down and you won't have that very long strand along the side. It'll be tacked down a little bit more, and that's less likely to cause problems with it being a little too loose or a little too tight. So there we go. So you could float the yarn on both sides depending on, the stitch pattern and where your color layout is, but you'd want to go ahead and put a border all the way around it for that. So as I was saying, we are going to skip over now from all the single crochet business and get to the mosaic, which actually is mostly single crochets as well. But I'm going to go ahead and switch to my color. Look at my labels here. This would be color A, so that we can begin what would be our 39th row. And you can see odd numbered rows are always going to be our right side rows. I know that. I've got my stitch marker there, and we're ready to begin row 39. Again, everything before row 39 is just single crochet rows. So before I begin that actual mosaic pattern, Lillian, was there anything else I could answer?
I think you covered it with your excellent explanation about stitching up the sides.
Okay.
There's just one person asking if you're able to demo a slip stitch.
Okay, a slip stitch isn't actually, I don't think, part of this pattern until maybe joining for the round, but if you want to know how to make a slip stitch, it is simply going into the indicated stitch or wherever you're supposed to slip stitch, yarn over, pull that loop through the stitch and through that first loop on your hook. It's basically you're slipping that stitch right through all the loops. I can do that one more time. You go into the indicated stitch or wherever you're supposed to slip stitch, yarn over, and pull that loop through the stitch and through the loop that was already on your hook. And that's a slip stitch. Slip stitches are great when you're working in the round, like for a border where you've gone all the way around and you need to join to that very first stitch you made for a continuous row. So let's move on to our 39th row here. Get these instructions somewhere where I can read them a little bit. So we are going to start with a chain 1. Then we are going to single crochet in each of the first 3 single crochets. Sorry, I need to move these a little bit closer to me so I can read them a little easier here. There we are. So now we're just going to single crochet in those first 3 stitches. So 1, 2, and 3. Then this is where we begin with the asterisk. This is going to be the repeat that takes us across. Now I only have 1 repeat here so that we can get through as many rows as possible, but you'll of course be doing this asterisk section several times until you get to the end. So to begin, we start with a chain 2, 1, 2, then we skip the next single crochet, and that means we literally just skip right on over it, and then single crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. So you can see right there is the one I skipped. There's a chain 2 right above it. And we just single crochet in each of the next 3. So there's 2 and there's the third one. Straighten that yarn out a little bit here and pull up some new color. There we are. And then we do it again. We chain 2, skip the next single crochet, and single crochet in each of the next 3. So if you're following along with the written instructions, you'll see the asterisk, then chain 2, skip next single crochet in each of the next 3 single crochets twice. And that's exactly what we've done here. Then you chain 2, 1, 2, skip the next single crochet and single crochet in the stitch after that. and that is our repeat. We go back to the beginning where we chain 2, skip the next single crochet, and single crochet in each of the next 3 twice, and then chain 2, skip the next single crochet, and single crochet in just the next one. All that we did there after the asterisk is our repeat. We keep doing that until we get to the end where we should have just 2 single crochets left. So you can see that's exactly what we've got at the end of this row. So when we get to the end, it says single crochet in each of the last 2 stitches. So there's 1 and 2, and that finishes off row 39. So at this point, you can see we're not doing those mosaic stitches. We're just kind of creating those chain spaces, which are going to set up where our mosaic stitches go later. So let's go ahead and move on to row 40. My yarn wants to get a little tangled up here for me because I'm working on a small table. So let me just pull that apart a little bit here off camera. Sorry about that. That is something you'll need to do when you're working with 2 colors like this. They tend to get a little twisted up. So I always recommend taking the time to untwist your yarns as needed. You know, there's can be a lot of, you'll want to just keep going and say, oh, I'll untangle them after the next row, but that can more often than not end up backfiring. So it is always important to take that time while you've got it. It'll pay off in the end. All right, so for row 40, we're going to start with a chain 1. And then we're going to single crochet in each of the first 3 single crochets. So right back into those single crochets we just made. There we are. Then we're going to chain 2, skip the next chain 2, and single crochet in each of the next 3 single crochets twice. So basically, we're just mimicking what we did in the previous row. Chain 2, skip over that chain 2, single crochet in the next 3 single crochets. So there's 1, 2, 3. Now we come to that next chain 2, so we chain 2 again, skip right over it, and single crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. Now you can see we're at another chain 2 space, so we're going to chain 2 again, skip that chain 2 space, single crochet in the next single crochet, and that's our repeat again. Just like the last row, we're just working back the other direction from the wrong side here. And this time we're skipping over those chain 2 spaces. So I hope you guys can see that. There's just a stack of chain 2 spaces right above those skipped single crochets. So we come to the end of the row, single crochet in those last 2 stitches. But we are going to be changing back to color C. So in the instructions, it just says go ahead and single crochet in the last 2 stitches and then turn. And then for row 41, it starts with C. But from the notes, we know we want to go ahead and pull up that color, which is hanging out right here on the side for us, and finish that last stitch with our color C, with the gray. There we are. So then we'll just leave that white hanging out there on the side so we can pick it back up after the next 2 rows. And then with that way, all our floats will be along this side. So before I begin row 41, were there any questions on those first 2 rows?
There's nothing in the chat at the moment. We all seem to be following along. Yep.
Great. I'm just going to actually, you'll see sometimes when I turn my project like that, when I've got the 2 skeins, sort of one's on the floor next to me and one's up here on the table, it's sometimes easier to untwist the yarn by going ahead and turning your project. So whatever works best for you. So let's go ahead and move to row 41, where we're working with C. So we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to single crochet in each of those first 3 single crochets. So yes, for this pattern, you'll always be changing colors along that same side. And again, if you don't like the look of a border, you can always just go ahead and cut those yarns and then weave them in every time you change the colors. So we've got our single crochet in each of the first 3 single crochets. Sorry, I just saw a question pop up. What happens to that floating yarn? It just hangs out. Let's see if I can get that with these light colors. It can be difficult to see, I know, against the background here with the light, but it just hangs out there right along the side. So when you crochet into the side for that border, you just want to work right over those floats and hide them inside your stitches. So they just hang out there until you cover them up. So now we've got our single crochet in each of the first 3 single crochets. So now we get to start the really fun part. We get to do a mosaic double crochet in the next stitch 3 rows below. So a mosaic double crochet is really just a double crochet. So we're going to yarn over, but we're going to work in front of those chain twos. We're not going to go around them or capture them at all. We're going to go all the way down here to that same colored single crochet that we skipped way down there, and just go right in there as we would for a normal double crochet. The trick is you want to kind of pull that stitch forward a little bit once you've got your hook under those top two loops so that you work in front of those chain twos. If you go all the way through, we're going to capture those inside the stitch, and that's not what we want to do for this pattern. We would just want to work into the top of that skipped stitch. So then you just work off the double crochet as you normally would. There we are. You can see we're in front of those chain twos. We didn't capture them at all. They're going to hang out right here on the back of the blanket. So now we've got our first mosaic double crochet. That's all there was to that. So then we, of course, skip over all those chain twos and single crochet. And it says, let me just double check my instructions here. Skip the next chain two. We're going to chain two. So we're setting up for some more mosaics in the following rows. Skip the next single crochet. So we always skip a single crochet when you chain two. And then single crochet in each of the next two single crochets. So we skip over that chain two there. We've chained two, so we're going to skip the next one. So we're going to single crochet in the two after that. So the last two before the next chain two section. So there's one, and there's two. So let me pull up a little bit more of my gray yarn here. There we are. So you can see we've got our mosaic double crochet, chain two, skip one, single crochet in the next two stitches. That brings us back to this one right here. So we are going to mosaic double crochet, which means we skip over those chain twos and work right down into that skipped single crochet before. Again, you can really use your hook if you need to sort of pull that forward. So you're just working into the top of that stitch and work it off as a standard double crochet. We, of course, skip that chain two behind the mosaic double crochet we just did. Now we're going to single crochet in each of the next two single crochets. So find that first one after your chain two. There's one, and there's two. Then we're going to chain two, skip that last single crochet before our next chain two, work a mosaic double crochet in front of those chains twos. Again, just go right into the top of that skipped single crochet, and then single crochet in the next stitch. That would be the next single crochet right there. And that was a long one, right? That was our repeat. That's the repeat. And to get all the way across till you come to those last two single crochets, and then you'll single crochet in there again. So again, I just want to point out that this class is being recorded. And when you go to watch it back on YouTube, you can definitely use the gear icon as well as the pause button to go through that stitch by stitch. The gear icon you can use to speed up and slow down the video. I know I use that a lot for long repeats like this. Just to walk through it one more time for row 41, we start out with a single crochet in the first three stitches. Then we mosaic double crochet. So that means we just drop down to that same color and double crochet in the skipped stitch. Then we chain two, skip the next single crochet in the next two single crochets, mosaic stitch again, single crochet in the next two single crochets, chain two, skip that single crochet, mosaic double crochet, and double crochet in the next single crochet. So like I say, that's a little bit of a long one, and it's fine too if you follow along with the written instructions, and you can use like a little pencil to sort of cross out the little bits as you go through it, because you'll want to refer back to that line again later. So that's why I say lightly with pencil, mark them off, do whatever you need to do to get through each of those things as you make each of those repeats. So, but on our little swatch here, we're at those last two single crochets. So we know we're just going to work a single crochet in each of those stitches. And that is what it should look like, the narrow version at least, at the end of row 41. So row 42, we're going to be working again with gray. Here in our mosaic section, we're going to be changing colors every 2 rows. So again, always on that side is where we'll change our colors. So to begin row 42, we're going to start with a chain 1. And I like to chain 1 and turn, but you can turn and chain 1, however it works best for you. And then we are going to single crochet in each of the first 4 stitches this time. So again, just single crochets. Just make sure you go right in that first stitch. And this time, remember we ended with those 3 single crochets, but that right there, you can see right there is the top of our mosaic stitch. We're just going to single crochet right into the top of that double crochet. Any of those unused or unworked, those chain 2s back here, like I said, on the back, those are just going to hang out. You're not going to come back and work into those at all. So now for row 42, we begin again with the asterisk. That begins our repeat. So we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, skip the next chain 2. Remember, we always have that stack of chain 2s on top of each other. And then we're going to single crochet in each of the next 5 stitches. So that's going to take us all the way across that little center section there. So 1, 2, and that's a mosaic double crochet, but we just crochet right into the top of that. It's sort of similar to cabling, if you've done crochet cabling before. Pull up a little bit more yarn here. There's my 5th single crochet, difficult to say tonight. There we go. And then we go back to our instructions. We chain 2 again. 1, 2, skip that chain 2, and then single crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. So that would be, let's see here. Remember, that's going to be, one of those is going to be that double crochet there. It's really easy to miss. We've got our chain 2 here, and then that mosaic double crochet. You don't want to miss that one and just hop over to that single crochet. Make sure that you work into that one as well. So there's 3. And that is the end of our repeat for row, that would be row 42, yes. So you can see here too, something else to keep in mind, we talked a little bit about those mosaic stitches are only going to show up on the right side. We're working from the wrong side here, and that's another visual clue. We're not working any double crochets when we are in even numbered rows. So we just do that repeat all the way across there for row 43 until we get to that very last stitch now, and then put a single crochet in that very last stitch. So at the end of row 43, we're looking at the wrong side of our blanket, so it just looks like plain stitches there. But on the front of the blanket, you can see we're still just kind of building up our second row in that color. So one thing I forgot to do when I made that single crochet, that very last single crochet for row 42 there, is I forgot to change colors. We need to switch colors again for row 43. We're switching back to color A. So I've got my single crochet, I've got my 2 loops on the hook. I'm going to drop that color, just literally let it hang out on the side. Grab that other color and bring it up and yarn over and pull through. Now I'm not worried about catching the floating colors during the mosaic section because we're changing colors every 2 rows. But when you're doing the earlier parts of the blanket where sometimes you've got 6 or 4 or more rows before you change colors again, that's where catching it can be a really handy thing, so just so you don't get that really, really long float along the side. So let me go ahead, and I hear what you're saying about the white background. I'm going to try bringing up a brown piece of paper here that I actually keep just for this use. I know, so fancy, right? But it's a little piece of brown wrapping paper, hoping maybe that will make some of our stitches a little easier to see. So let's try that for our next row here. Let's go ahead and move on to row 43. But actually, before I do that, were there any other questions I could answer, Lillian?
Yeah, we do have a couple of questions here about the texture. Liz asks, are there loopy areas under the mosaic stitch that perhaps a baby's finger could get caught in, or is that fabric quite solid?
Well, you know, and I'm not I'm not certified to speak about baby safety. I feel like that's probably a legal thing, but I will say there are the chain 2s on the back here. You can get, this is a US H hook. I should have mentioned at the beginning. Sorry about that. US H hook. I can get the hook under those chain 2 loops. Those are going to hang out there on the back. But one thing I do know, and granted, my babies are a little older now, but I do believe they say not to use baby blankets without supervision. So hopefully that would help with that as well. I will say they're not really loose loops, but they are there. That said, I would say it's no more loosey than what you would, no more loopy, try that again, than you would encounter, say, if it was a double crochet baby blanket. It's not going to be any looser than that. I think a baby would have to try pretty hard, to be honest, to get tangled up in there in a difficult way. But, you know, something to be aware of. Like I say, I know baby blankets, they do say you should keep an eye on the baby. So, Alrighty. So let's go ahead and, oh, sorry, was there one more question I could answer on that?
There's one more. Susan asks, so the chains are part of the stripe pattern on the wrong side?
Yes. So the chains are just become part of the pattern there on the back. Let me see if I can, might be a little easier to see on the full-sized one here. This is the full-size blanket there. So you can see there's the, let me get my hook out there. You can see there are those chain twos. But like I say, they're not really any bigger than you would encounter in a double crochet because it is just two. If it was like 4 or 5, then I, might be a little bit more concerned. But this is what it looks like from the wrong side. So, okay, let me set that aside here. And then let's get going with row 43. Not row 3, row 43. All right, so we are going to start with a chain 1. And this is going to be another mosaic row where we're working from the right side of the fabric. And I'm going to start by working a single crochet in each of the first 4 single crochets. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So easy enough. We've just worked a single crochet in each of the single crochets from the previous row. Then we're going to mosaic double crochet again. So just always know whenever you work one of these mosaic double crochets, it's just a double crochet. You're going to be working it into the same color yarn. So now I'm working with the white. I'm going to be dropping down here to that white single crochet that we skipped. So that's just a good visual clue to always help you make sure you're in the right spot. I'll pull up a little bit more of the white yarn there. There we are. So we've worked our mosaic double crochet. Then we skip the chain 2, of course, behind it. Then we chain 2, skip the next single crochet. So it's okay to just go ahead and pull your work apart a little bit here. We've got our chain 2 there that we've skipped. We've chained 2 now. We're going to skip that next one right there. And then look at our instructions. Single crochet in each of the next 3 single crochets. So we go ahead and put our hook right in that next stitch and work 1, 2, and 3 single crochets. So hopefully that brown background is making that a little bit easier to see here. So then we are going to chain 2 again. Skip the next single crochet. We've got one more hanging out right there. Mosaic double crochet. So that means jump right on over to that skipped single crochet down there. There we are. Skip the next chain 2. So that one right back there. And then single crochet in each of the next 3 single crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And then that's our repeat until we come to that very last single crochet where we'll single crochet again. So you can see there, not quite as many double crochets in this repeat, but we're starting to create a little bit of that pattern. I think if I hold it down here, it might be a little bit easier to see yet. So for row 43, our repeat is we single crochet on those first 4 stitches, mosaic double crochet, chain 2, skip the single crochet in those next 3 right there in the middle, chain 2 again, skip that single crochet, do another mosaic double crochet, and then single crochet in the next 3. So we're just starting to offset that a little bit till we get all the way there to the end, and then we just single crochet. But this isn't our changing color rows. We're going to do our wrong side row, so we don't need to change colors. We can just chain 1 and turn for row 44. I think when I get to the end of row 44, I'm going to try bringing in the retro colorway. So you'll have another chance to see me change colors there. And also hopefully those next couple rows are going to be a little bit easier to see. So let's see, having some trouble. I just saw that one pop up with the last stitch on the row getting very tight. I would say just to make sure that when you make that final single crochet, let's go ahead and make that again together here. When you make your final single crochet or really any stitch, there can be a really big habit to tug back on your working yarn. And that tends to make that stitch a little tighter. You could even be tugging while you're making the stitch itself. When you're going in there, if you're putting a lot of tension on that yarn and sort of shrinking down that stitch as you're making it, that's typically where that stitch tends to get a little tight. So if it's typically happening for you just when you get to the end, I would say just try and remember to keep it loose. Make sure your shoulders are relaxed. Maybe go ahead and give those loops a little tug before you do the final yarn over and pull through. And then when you make your turning chain, make sure maybe to pull up on that loop a little bit too before you do that chain 1 and then turn. If you make that chain 1 really tight, that can be another pull on that final stitch. So hopefully that will help with that. But because I know we're having a little bit of trouble seeing the colors, I'm going to go ahead and switch actually. Well, no, I better finish this row in this color before we switch colors. So we'll switch colors at the end of row 44 because it's a wrong side row. So let's get to row 44. We've got our chain 1. I'm going to single crochet in each of the first 5 single crochets. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and actually that 5th one is going to be in the top of that double crochet there. So we just double crochet or single crochet right across there. Then we chain 2, 1, 2, skip that next chain 2, and single crochet in the next 3 single crochets. So really when you're making these wrong side rows, you're basically just following the same pattern as the previous row. Gets us back over to the other side, lets us change colors, and get those beautiful mosaic stitches. So I've got those 3 single crochets there, so I'm going to chain 2 again, skip that chain 2, and then single crochet in, what does it say, the next 5 stitches. So that is our repeat across there. So that takes us all the way to the end of row 44. It's got a nice even repeat there. No stitches left hanging out at the end. So normally this is where I would go ahead and pull up that gray, but because I know we're having a little bit of trouble seeing that color, I'm going to go ahead and actually cut my yarn here and bring up the retro so those next couple rows are a little easier for us to see. So were there any questions I could answer while I change out my colors here real quick?
We do have a question about changing colors.
Okay, excellent.
Holly was asking when you're, say, doing 7 or 8 rows in one color and then switching to another color, how are you bringing the yarn up?
Well, that's the thing. It needs to be, for this technique, it needs to be either, trying to think how to describe this without getting overly mathy. Basically, you need to have an even number of rows so that you come back to that side. So wherever this color is hanging out, this is the color I need to bring up for the next color section after I make this one. I need to remember to leave that where I need to make sure that I come back to that side that it's hanging out on. So if you're doing, I'm trying to think, if you're doing even numbers of rows, then you can keep hanging them out on the other side. If you want to do odd numbers of rows, then you're going to have ends on each side that you can bring up, but it's simply not going to work for every stitch pattern. So I genuinely recommend, what I do when I want to try and figure this out for myself is I will bring up some pen here and paper, because this is how I'll actually do it. Let's say I want to use 2 colors. So I'm now color A. I'm going to do it the same direction I crochet. So from bottom to top, A, I'm going to start crocheting. I'm right-handed, so it's going to go that direction. Hopefully that's big enough to see there. And then I'm going to do another A row. I'm going to do, let's say I'm going to do 6 rows of A. So I've got my 6 rows. I know the next row is going to go the other direction, back and forth, and back and forth. So that means when I finish that 6th row of A, my end is going to be on this side of my project. So then if I want to bring in color B for 3 rows, well, the next, unless I work back that same direction, which is a whole different technique, then that B row is going to go that direction, and that B row is going to go that direction, and that B row is going to go that direction. Well, if I want to switch back to color A, it's not on the right side of the blanket. It's on the wrong side of the piece. So I need to think and kind of pre-plan, okay, if I want to do this sort of technique, I should work another row of B so that I end up back on this side. So now I can pull that end up along this side of the blanket. Sorry, that's my my poorly drawn sketch there, trying to hold it up off the table. I hope that explains that well. And in fact, you'll see this in this pattern. When you work, turn this back over here. When you work the stripe pattern in the single crochet rows for this pattern, you'll note that it's 4 rows in one color and then 6 rows in the other, which is actually what we ended up doing right here, 6 and then 4, so that those ends end up on the same side. So the exception to this would be if you're doing stripes with 3 colors, you can do you can do an odd number of rows in that case, because let's say we've got A, B, 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 C, C, C. A will go that way, and that way. So then we've got our end hanging out here for A on this one. There we are, sorry. Okay, so you see how that works? We've started crocheting that way, then that way, then that way. So our end's over here. B will have to go that way, that way, that way. So the end's over here. And then we'll switch to C, that way, that way, that way. So the end's over here. But because we've got those three colors now, A is on the correct side. So then we can bring that up here for the next row. And then after we finish that next set of A's, which are going to go that way, that way, that way, we'll be ready to bring up the end for B. So I hope that answered that question. I didn't have supplies for that one, but I hope that answered that. Really, for switching colors like that, it's just a great idea to sort of chart it out ahead of time on paper, like I just did, so you can kind of get an idea of where those ends are going to be. And that's exactly how I do it, straight up with the arrows, no fancy designer trick there. I draw my arrows back and forth, and that lets me figure that out. So let's go ahead and let's pull up some of this retro colorway, and we're going to pretend that this is our, let's see, we would be on color 45. So we're going to pretend this is our color C. And of course, you can change the colors to your pattern or for your project, whatever colors you want them to be. So we're going to say that this is our color C, that I've brought it up along the side, and we're going to start row 45. So to go ahead and join our new color, and this might happen to you later in the pattern when you need, well, for this pattern, it only uses one cake of each color, but if you wanted to make it bigger, you might need more cakes. So you can just go ahead and pull up a loop in that first stitch with your new color and chain one, and then you're ready to go ahead and start doing your new color. So that works for adding a new cake or changing colors. If you want to cut the color, if you didn't want to carry it along the sides, that's how I would just go ahead and add that one. You'll notice I've still got a little bit of tension on that end. I'm just doing that while I make this first stitch there so that it doesn't get too loose and floppy, and so that that chain one doesn't pull out. I would go ahead and weave that end in just like all the other ends at the end of my project. So let's continue with row 45. I'm going to single crochet in each of the first two single crochets. So I just joined to that one. We've got our chain one, so I'll just go right back in there. Work one single crochet, and then a single crochet right in the next. Then I'm going to chain two, skip the next single crochet, and single crochet in each of the next two stitches. So 1 and 2. You can see that brings us right back up to some chain twos, so it's time for a mosaic double crochet. And of course, normally I've been saying all this time, make sure you go into the same color, but we've changed colors. So in this case, I'll be going down to that gray. There we are. And then we skip that chain two, of course, right behind it. We're going to chain two again, skip the next single crochet, and single crochet in the stitch after that. So again, it's helpful to pull that forward and really take a look. There's my chain two. There's that next one we want to skip. So that one right after it is the one I want to put my hook into for that single crochet right there. There we are. Then we chain two again, skip the next single crochet, and it's time for another mosaic stitch because we've come to those chain twos. There we are. So we've worked off that mosaic stitch. Then we skip the chain two behind it, of course, and then single crochet in each of the next two. So there's 1 and 2. And that right there is our repeat. This one has a relatively short repeat. We're going to single crochet in those first two stitches, then chain two, skip a single crochet. Whenever we chain two, we always skip one. Single crochet in the next two, mosaic, chain two, skip one, single crochet right in that middle one, chain two, skip the next one, mosaic stitch again, and then single crochet in the next two stitches. So I'm hoping that blue is a little easier to see there against the white, but that's our repeat for row 45 until we get to the very last. Let's see, what does it say? Okay, we repeat from the asterisk to the last 3 stitches. And this one's a little different. When we get to those last 3 single crochets, we don't just single crochet into them. We chain 2, skip the next one, and then single crochet in each of the last 2. So for row 45, the end isn't simply do the repeats and then single crochet in what's left, we do have one more chain two and skip one right at the end of that row. So let me know. Hopefully that's a little easier to see. Of course, this was meant to be a continuation of the gray there, but hopefully that blue of the retro right now is a little easier to see. So moving on to row 46, we're going to be doing a wrong side row. So we know it's just going to be single crochets and chains. So for row 46, we single crochet in each of the first two single crochets, which brings us to a chain two space. So we chain two and skip it. Chain two, skip that chain two. Then we single crochet in each of the next three stitches. Yep, 1, 2, and that third one is that double crochet. So don't let that fool you, trying to hide back there. Go right into that one. And then that brings us to another chain two. So we chain two and skip over that one. We've got a single crochet right there. So we're going to single crochet right into it. Another chain two. So we chain two and skip right over that chain two. And then single crochet in the next three. So the first one of those is that double crochet. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Excuse me. Then we chain two and skip the next two, and that's our repeat. So basically, wrong side row, we're working a single crochet into each stitch and chaining two and skipping over those chain twos. So we've got our last one there. We come to the end, single crochet in those last two stitches. And because it's our second row in this color, it's time to bring up our other color. Now, let's see, I should be working with the white now, which silly me, I cut the wrong one at the end of the last row. So let me go ahead and cut that gray because I think it's going to be a little confusing if I try and sub in the gray for the white as well. But you'll get to see me change colors again, so bonus. So I'm going to go ahead and bring the white back up here to work between that and the retro for our stripes. So I'm going to go ahead and go into that last single crochet, pull up my loop, stop with 2 loops left on the hook, and yarn over with my new color. And that's how I'm doing it for this one, right there, just as if I had brought it up along the side. You can cut it or you can join with a slip stitch. You can join this way. It's really joining a new color. You could do either way, whatever works for you. So then I will chain 1, which helps sort of lock that on there, and turn. And if you find that carrying those loops along the side, sometimes those side stitches get a little big, before you do that carry up the side, you can always give that yarn a little bit of a tug just to sort of shrink that stitch back down. If you find yours are getting too big, if they're, if they're getting too tight, don't do that, obviously. But if your stitches at the end are a little too loose, you can always give them a little tug on that yarn. So let's go ahead and move on to row 46. I'm going to work a single crochet in each of, I'm supposed to be row 40. Row 40, whoa, I lost my place. Too much talking. Where was I at? Okay. Okay, we just finished row 46. Yes. Okay. Sorry. These patterns get a little long, and like I say, normally I would even be ticking them off on my paper as I work through them. So let's go ahead and just to confirm, yes, I am finished with row 46. We're going to go to row 47 because it is a mosaic row. So we are going to work a single crochet in each of those first 2 single crochets, 1 and 2. And then we mosaic double crochet in the next stitch 3 rows below. We're back to the same color here, so we can go right back into that one right there. There we are. Then we skip the chain 2 behind it, of course, single crochet in each of the next 2 single crochets. So you can go ahead and pull that apart to find that very next one. There's 1 and 2. Then we chain 2, 1, 2. We're going to skip that last little single crochet right there and work a mosaic double crochet because we're at a new set of chain 2s. Yeah, I'm glad you were able to get something out of my snafu on cutting the wrong color there. All right, so we've got our mosaic stitch there, and then we of course skip the chain 2s behind it, single crochet in the next single crochet. So that'd be that one right there. And then it's time for another mosaic double crochet because we're back at those chain 2s. Skip the chain twos behind it, of course. Chain two. Let's see, skip the next single crochet. Let me make sure I got that right. Single crochet in the first two single crochets, mosaic double crochet. Single crochet in the next two, 1, 2. Sorry, this is a really long line of instructions, as I'm sure you guys are aware. Chain two, skip next single crochet, mosaic double crochet, single crochet in the next single crochet. So that'd be that one right there. And then sorry, let me go through this line. Let's see here. We're going to work this one out together. Single crochet in the first two, mosaic double crochet, skip next chain two, single crochet in the next two, chain two, skip next single crochet, mosaic double crochet, single crochet in the next, mosaic double crochet, chain two, skip next single crochet, which I did not skip the next single crochet. That's what I missed. Sometimes you really just have to go bit by bit by bit through these patterns. Like I say, it's just single crochet and chains for the most part here with these double crochets, but you really have to concentrate a little bit. So we've chained two, we're going to skip that one, and then we're going to single crochet in the next two. So there's 1 and 2. Okay. Whew, that was our repeat, believe it or not. We're going to keep doing that little bit there over and over again. So like I say, you really sometimes have to, I do, as you've seen right here, I will lay out my work and go stitch by stitch by stitch through the instructions to make sure I'm getting each one. So we're going to do that repeat over and over again until you get to these last 3 stitches. And that can be a little misleading because it's not so much 3 stitches as it's a chain 2 and then those 2 single crochets. But we're going to do a mosaic stitch, of course, because we've encountered those chain 2s. And then we single crochet in each of those last 2 stitches, skipping the chain 2 behind the double crochet. So sorry about getting a little lost there, but like I say, that's the only cure for it. Sometimes you just have to set it out and go through your work stitch by stitch so you can catch up to where you're meant to be. So on our little swatch here, this is what it looks like at the end of row 47, and we're ready for row 48, which is another wrong side row. So for row 48, we chain 1 and single crochet in each of the first 5 stitches. So that's 1, 2, and we've got that mosaic right there, 3, 4, and 5. And that takes us to a chain 2. So we chain 2 again and skip over that. Then we single crochet in the next 3 stitches. So that's going to be a mosaic double crochet, and then that single crochet right in the middle. And then that next mosaic stitch wants to hide from me there. There we go. And then that brings us to another chain 2. So it's time to chain 2 again, skip over that, and single crochet in the next 5. So that's our repeat. Just single crochet again in your stitches and chain 2 and skip over those chain 2s. And then of course, since it's our wrong side row and it's our second row in this color, we're going to finish that very last single crochet with the other color. Now I've got a bunch of ends hanging out here, there on this side with all my cutting, but I want to find the retro one. So I'm gonna go for the blue. There we are, sort it out from all the others. Just let those hang out there, and then I'll yarn over and pull through to finish that up. And just give that a little tug so it's not too tight and not too loose there. So hopefully you can see there's those floats along the side. They're just sort of hanging out right there, not too loose away from the edge, but not pulling them in and making them shrink at all. So before I begin row 49, which I'm very happy to have made it all the way to so far, like I say, I know we're probably not going to make it all the way here through the end of the pattern, but hopefully you've seen how this is basically just follow these instructions, stitch by stitch, single crochet, chain 2, skip, stitch by stitch, and take your time and you'll be able to follow it through. So before I begin our row 49, were there any other questions I could answer?
Yeah, let me take a look. This might derail us a little, but there is one question here from Mary asking how to adjust the size of the blanket.
Ah, absolutely. This one is very easy to answer, and I love this. I love that the designers included this. I should point out I didn't design this myself. I wish I had. It's beautiful. I'm gonna get my head around how I'd actually design the mosaic stitches someday. I love making them, but designing them is a little bit of a brain bend. So, fortunately, with this pattern, they have included that information. If you look right here under the blanket, the very first instruction, once you get to the actual blanket pattern, says with a chain 116, a multiple of 10 chains plus 6. So for my little swatch right here, I started with a chain of 16. So that's the minimal amount I could make. So if you wanted to make, let's say if you were making a washcloth size or a little tiny lovey size, you could start with 26, which would be a multiple of 10, 10 times whatever, plus 6. The 6 just gets tacked on at the end. 5 of those will become stitches. 1 of them will be your turning chain. So for example, you see here, it starts with 116. We have 115 stitches in that first row. So you can, like say, if you wanted to make it, 10 multiples wide, you could start, well, that's exactly what we've got here. 10 times 10 is 100, and then 6. That would be a little bit narrower, actually. This would be 11 repeats of this. 11 times 10, 110 plus 6. If you wanted to make like a throw-sized blanket, you might want to make it twice as wide. So you could, do 206. Just any multiple of 10. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, whatever. And then 6 more chains at the end will get you started in whatever size you'd like. So one of my favorite things to do with a blanket like that is just chain till I have the approximate width I want, plus a few more. And then, count out and see how that fits that row, because everybody's gauge is going to be a little different. And, while blankets don't have to necessarily be an exact size, unlike garments, it's always nice to take your own gauge into account when you can. So, okay, I put my instructions aside. I need to pull them back up here so we can start row 49. So for row 49, of course, we start with our chain 1. And we're going to be working back here on the right side because it's an odd numbered row. And we've got our little stitch marker there to help remind us. And we're going to single crochet in each of the first single crochets. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we begin the repeat with the asterisk. We chain 2, skip the next single crochet, and mosaic double crochet. So we've only got 1 there to skip. We're at our chain 2. We know we're in the right spot. So drop down to that same color stitch and work off that double crochet. Then we, of course, skip the chain 2 behind it and single crochet in each of the next 3 single crochets. So we find those there right in the middle. 1, 2, and 3. There we are. Then we mosaic double crochet again because we've come to those chain 2s. Skip the chain 2, of course, behind the double crochet we just made. And then let's see, we've done our mosaic double crochet, single crochet in the next 3, mosaic double crochet. So then we skip that chain 2 space. Now we chain 2, skip the next single crochet, and single crochet in each of the next 3. So we want to skip that single crochet right after that chain 2 and single crochet in the next 3. And that is our repeat. So we'll walk through that again real quick here. After we do that first part, we start our repeat with a chain 2 and skip 1, then a mosaic double crochet, single crochet in the next 3, mosaic double crochet, chain 2, skip 1, single crochet in the next 3. Keep that up, and then you should have 1 single crochet remaining there at the end of your row. And so, of course, we're just going to single crochet right in there. And then we're ready to turn and chain 1 and make row 50, which is an odd size or an even numbered row. So it's going to be from the back of our blanket. You can see now that we've made a few rows here. We're getting that 2-row stripe pattern there. You can actually see a little bit of the color peeks out just right there, but it would hide. You wouldn't be able to see the blue there because it would fade in with the gray if I'd stuck with the same color. But that's what it looks like from the back. So for row 50 again, basically we're just single crocheting in the stitches and chaining 2 and skipping the chain 2s whenever we come to those. I do recommend, though, while that sounds quite simple, that you still follow along with the instructions, because those double crochets do like to try and hide a little bit on the other side of the fabric, and they'll make you think they're part of that chain 2. So we've got our first 4 single crochets, chain 2, skip the chain 2, single crochet in the next 5 stitches. So again, you can really kind of pull that stitch up so you can see and make sure you don't accidentally skip over that first double crochet there. So there's 4, and then it says 5, so we've got 1 more hanging out right there on the end. Then we chain 2, skip over that next chain 2, and single crochet in the next 3. Keep that up, just as we've been doing, until we get to the end. And we single crochet in the very last stitch, and that's where we change colors again, because it's our second row. We need to find the end that I'm actually trying to work with here, which I think is this one right here, of all our little ends. And then again, just yarn over and pull through with that to finish the stitch right there. And that is how you finish up that stitch. So I know we are actually officially past time. So, but hopefully, like I say, it's just, you're not going to be able to memorize this from the video anyway. You're going to need to follow the written instructions. So just go ahead and take your time and really follow those along with each one of those, each of those little stitches. Now, I want to point out, for those who like to use charts, there is a chart included in this pattern. Not my favorite way to read this particular type of pattern, but I know some people do, so you can follow that if you'd like. The edging round at the end, you simply join with, well, it says join with color A, but honestly, you could use whatever one's your favorite and whichever one you want to use, and just single crochet right along the side of the blanket. So I'm going to pull up the gray because it's my cut end here, because I saw we had a question come up about working over those sides. Now, normally, of course, I would go all the way around, but I'm just going to quickly demo here right in the middle of our side how to cover those floats along the side. There we go. So we've got our chain 1, wherever we want to go ahead and join with our yarn. And then when you work along the side, go ahead and just make sure that those float ends, sort of like if you're working over the ends, this is an actual cut end, but those float ends right there, make sure that those are trapped inside the stitch. So before, when I was talking about making those mosaic double crochets, you wanted to make sure that you worked in front of those chain loops to not catch them inside the stitch. This time we're actually trying to catch these inside the stitch. So it's a lot like working over the ends. If you've ever tried to work over your ends a little bit so you don't have quite as much to weave in at the end. Same idea, we're just trapping those little floats right along the side here. So I'll make a couple more and you can see, hopefully, how well those just disappear right inside that border edge. You won't be able to see where any of those are at all. So hopefully that demoed that. So I think that's probably more than enough, or at least in terms of time. Sorry I went so late, everybody. We'll go ahead and move off the overhand camera here. There we are, so you don't get seasick after I move it. But yeah, thanks for sticking with me. I know we went a little over time, but hopefully, like I say, just take your time, follow the instructions. In the end, it's really just, the simplest of stitches. It's just a matter of getting them in those right spots.
Thanks, Tamara. And thanks for joining us today, everyone.
All right, thank you so much for having me. And I hope you guys will give this blanket a try. It's the Geo Baby Crochet Blanket, so.
Lovely.
There
and we
it
would
is.
love to see your WIP, so please share your work with hashtag Make It With Michaels and hashtag Yarnspirations. And just a reminder that today's class was recorded, and you can find the recording on michaels.com/classes as well. Thanks again, Tamara.
All right, thanks so much for having me. Have a great night, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.